DreamHack Open is brought to you by Corsair, Intel, and Monster Energy.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are. Today, it's going to be day 2 of DreamHack Open Summer 2020. My name is Blay. It's going to be a little bit of a switch up this time around. I'm the one hosting, and my minion today is going to be the ever wonderful and beautiful Potter. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I'm excited to see you host. We've never done this before, Sudan, so let's get this started. I mean, we have a lot to talk about, though. Yesterday was insane.
Yesterday was insane, and we had a few interesting storylines to talk about, but to start things off, like there was obviously the EU section, and we had the NA games taking place. Which games or any particular things which stood out for you?
It's got to be big, right? I mean, we'll keep Liquid and Grim in the back pocket for now because there's a lot to discuss there, but I do want to touch on big first. I know yesterday we had high expectations for Big being the #1 team in the world. And, actually, I wasn't impressed, but I did like what I saw. There was some weird moments, though. Tizian, he didn't have the best of series. Tizian has one of those underappreciated roles, so it is kind of harder for him to get himself involved into the match and have one of those blow-up games that we saw him have to help catapult Big into that #1 spot. But Searson, he still showed up. He had so many incredible moments in this series with that AWP, with the scout, so many clutches. So he was really a huge factor in why Big were actually able to close this series out. But you saw it, Sudan. It was close versus Endpoint.
It was close, and in the end, of course, Mirage kind of one-sided, especially with Xantares dropping a 30 bomb. But Endpoint, I mean, they've suddenly made this Group A look very interesting, right?
Yeah, so interesting. I mean, just because Endpoint is not a team that I don't think many would have considered a contender. And I still don't know if we can actually consider them a contender in EU, but at least there's someone who can absolutely upset, right? Absolutely steal a map away. And if you're not careful and you're in EU right now and you approach Endpoint in a underestimating type of manner, then you better watch out because you got something coming for you. So certainly Endpoint are a force to be reckoned with, I think.
And of course, to reckon with was also, from the NA side, the debut game of Mr. Grim. This guy was something. I wasn't a part of the panel for that game. I was watching the game, and he was just crapping on the Pug God.
Dude, yeah, there's no other really elegant way to say this because Grim was absolutely crapping on the Pug Gods. It was really the conviction that he was showing in the server that he had zero doubt in his mind as to what he needed to do, what his role was on this squad. And I mentioned it yesterday before, but that confidence, pressing tab now and seeing your teammates being napped, seeing your teammate being Stewie, seeing your teammate being a liege. I mean, this just kind of boosts your confidence. It makes you rise to the occasion and be great. And that's exactly what we saw coming out of Grim yesterday. Now, my biggest question moving forward is going to be when Grim runs into a stronger opponent, because let's be honest, VPG isn't the best of the best in NA. So later on down the road, hey, if we see them playing versus Furia, who I mentioned yesterday is the team to beat, is probably the favorite coming in for NA, how is Grim going to react then? How is he going to react when he runs into a little bit of an issue? I do think that the amount of confidence that he was showing yesterday, it's certainly going to translate over, but I do want to see Grim facing off versus a little bit more of a challenging opponent before I make a firm decision on how great he is.
All right, so we will be seeing some of these matches taking place later on. But firstly, a shout out to our sponsors, without whom none of this would be possible. I haven't really done sponsor shout outs that much. I'm probably going to mess this up, but I'm going to try not to. It's going to be Monster Energy, Corsair, and Intel. There you go. I nailed it, Potter. I'm so good at this.
You're so good.
I know. I'm good at this hosting gig. I mean, I might as well just stop analyzing. I don't even need to make notes for that matter.
No, we still need to keep you in the analyst role, Blair. You're really good.
Thank you, Potter. All right, that's nice. There we go. That's a way to start the day, Potter. Have you had a coffee? Looks like you've had a lot of coffees. But
I've had too many.
You've had too many, clearly. But let's talk a little bit about. We have some stuff to talk about when it comes down to the topic of the day, which would be online Counter-Strike. Kind of a positive spin to it. Right now, when we started off the online phase of CS in 2020, right now it had a lot of critics, but there are a few online spins to it, and we do have a video coming up for you guys right now, so take a look.
So what I'm gonna say about this online era, it's incredible, it's unpredictable, everything could happen in this case, and if we're talking about who's gonna be number one or who's gonna be handled the top 10, top 20, there is no actually answer now.
Of course, we didn't have so many opportunities to play online with this team. We won the DreamHack in Leipzig. I think our performance might not drop so much, yeah. But of course, we don't know it, yeah. And we can wait for an opportunity to prove it.
I think the rankings will definitely be influenced when we are back at LAN. Some teams have been heavily overperforming throughout the COVID-19 process, and other teams have been underperforming. I don't really blame anyone for underperforming, because I think it's also about adapting to the situation you are in and the situation you're given. So for me, there's no excuses for the teams who hasn't been doing poorly anything. Just a lot of credit and kudos to the teams who's been taking advantage of the situation and playing their hearts out, or the rankings will look different when we're back.
Scrawny mentioned yesterday how, he was expecting to see some of these new up-and-coming players kind of make a name for themselves in online CS, and Grim being one of the names. Anything that stands out for you that way, Potter?
Yeah, and I think Scrawny brings up a really good point, right? It's because a lot of the times when you surround yourself with greatness, you can sometimes be a chameleon. You can just blend in, and hey, if you have great teammates, it can really make you look good. And some of these players, they're going to be able to rise to that occasion and accept that challenge and just come out on top. And so hopefully Grim is one of those players. But I think right now we're transitioning into a phase where, we heard the coach MCE of Chaos even talking about it. The pool of players in NA right now, it's absolutely lacking. So I think it is the time right now to take those kinds of risks and take a look at the talent that we have in NA and really kind of hone down on it and see who's who, right? So I think we're on the right track, but the talent pool in NA is certainly kind of lacking.
And well, one way to improve the talent pool is by picking up certain tips from the pros. So we have one for you guys from Rush.
I guess a very broad tip would be to try to learn something new every game you play, or even every deathmatch session you play, or whatever it may be. I think that if you get into a fixed mindset of just you're comfortable with what you're doing and you do it every time, you're not going to grow. So if you have a growth mindset and every game I can learn something new, whether it be from my teammates or my opponents, and maybe write it down or just remember it. I think that every time you play, you'll get better, opposed to maybe you stay the same or even get worse because you're in your own habits.
There we go. Tip of the day. Potter, anything to add to that?
No, I'm just excited to see Rush showing the action in the server today. That's going to be the first match of the day today, and I'm excited to see it. I'm excited to see what form Complexity come in after this player break. I think that's the biggest question on everyone's mind is what kind of Complexity are we going to see, because they had so much success pre-player break.
Yeah, they did. And it's also been a little hit or miss, right? At the same time, the Juggernaut, as you say, the momentum gets going, it keeps going, but sometimes it can't stop. And speaking Complexity, we do have some teams we want to talk about, and that should be, of course, the teams from obviously the EU region, the EU side of things, and of course, NA. And we have the groups over here, Group A and Group B, both kind of stacked, Potter. Today it's going to be Group B. Take me through these teams.
We've got Complexity, Spirit, OG, and Fours rounding out this Group B. And, yesterday, I did say that I'm so excited to see Spirit play, and I gotta stick to that. I think that their storyline this year in 2020 is absolutely exciting. They've got some youngsters on that team that I'm excited to see rising to that occasion I was talking about. So for Group B, that's the team I'm keeping my eye out. But when you see that big star and complexity over on that side, that's absolutely a team that you can't underestimate either. So Group B is a little bit exciting, but when you look over to the left at that Group A, you see those big names, the bigger teams, the bigger players. So that's a little bit stacked as well.
A team like Big, for example. And of course, we do have the NA side of things as well, where it was a little bit of a switch up. We did have, unfortunately, had a few teams like Gen.G and EG drop out due to the entire COVID situation. But any matchups which are standing out for you today? Or rather, in East?
I guess it's gotta be, it's gotta be the Furia matchup today, just because they're the team that I'm looking out for the most. They're the team that shifted the NA meta pre-player break. I mean, they really demanded everyone in North America to take a look at their playstyle and either adopt it or have some sort of answer to it. So Furia is absolutely the team to look out for.
Well, on that note, we do have Complexity coming up versus Forza. That's a game I'm personally looking forward to, Potter. I don't know about you. And on that note, we're going to be sending to a very, very quick break. And we'll be back with the pre-match segment of what should be a banger of a game to start things off today.